Of course.
Good afternoon. We are going to call the Hood River White Salmon Bridge Authority meeting to order. Let the record show we have present in the room Commissioner Anderson. We've got Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Paulson, Commissioner Babbitts will not be here. I believe Commissioner Gibson is going to be showing up. Don't see him online. Oh, he sent a message.
That's online, so watching this.
Okay, and then we also, no, Commissioner Gibson will not be here. Commissioner Kiefler will be a little bit late. Commissioner alternate Gilchrist is absent, so we've got alternate Wilson sitting in right now and alternate Berger sitting in right now. On Oregon, we have alternate Thomas sitting in for Babbitts. And do we have Nathan online? No. And
Carrie's coming in.
who's coming in?
Carrie.
Oh, okay. And then alternate Edwards is also present. With that, are there any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, we need to modify the amendment six contract, and we can discuss that one. The
We don't
motion,
need to change the actual agenda.
no.
Okay,
Move to approve the agenda.
thank you, sir.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, we have our meeting minutes from April 8th, 2024. Are there any changes that anybody see? Not seeing any.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from April 8th. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. Is there anyone online or in the room who'd like to provide public comment? I will ask a second time. Is there anyone who would like to provide public comment? Hearing none. All right, public comment is now closed for the day. Must be doing everything right. Moving on, co-chairs report. Commissioner Fox.
I have none this time. I'll address issues down in the engineering construction committee.
Okay. I would just say I've attended a lot of meetings since our last one, and we are gearing up, and this is getting to run very fast time, and most of us aren't even doing our regular jobs because all we're doing is bridge stuff. I would also say our first meeting with Kiewit down at their offices for 2 days. It was really amazing to sit in a room with all of the world's brightest bridge engineers and Commissioner Fox.
Second the motion.
All right. With that, we can move on to our project director bridge updates.
All right, I'm gonna just hit the highlights here. We do have some meetings starting up on the government affairs side. With Oregon, we have Association of Oregon Counties on the 24th. ODOT executive team on April 29th and the governor's office on April 29th. So we are working together to put packets together for those meetings. If you have a strong interest in participating in those, I would follow up with the co-chairs and let them know your interest in being associated with those meetings. And they can work out who's going to be on or at those meetings. On the Washington side, we've had a couple meetings, one with Rep Waters and Rep Harris. We'll continue to do that outreach, and that will only get more as we move forward. There's a lot of moving parts with the legislation this year, and it's extremely important for the project to get our state funding this year. So federal, the biggest thing right now is working through the appropriations. So there was a recent email from Earl Blumenauer's office that the process is running a little slow. It sounds like the money will flow through the DOTs down to, I'm guessing, the agencies that applied, which would be Clickitat County and the port. And then they will.
With them?
No, they were the applicants.
So we got one, they got one.
Cool.
We will need to put together agreements. I think the IGA will cover the one with the port. But there will need to be an agreement established with Pack County, so. WashDOT funding on the 15 million, Oregon law went into place on April 18th, so I sent that information over to WashDOT. They are taking it to their Office of Financial Management, who will hopefully move the money from unallocated to allocated and release the additional 10 million, which means we will have to make a slight modification to our funding agreement with WashDOT. I'm hoping to hear something in the next week or two from them and have that done. Hopefully by the end of May, we'll have that money available for us. Oregon funding, no real changes other than we've got the reassignment of the name. We did submit the Oregon Infrastructure Bank loan to them. Debbie sent it in today. So that'll be going into them for the $5 million. It's actually 4,940,000, 50,000 fee had to come off. So, and we had to come off the 5 million because we added it on and made it 5,050,000. Then it kicked us into a different bucket. So we had to take it off. Bridge investment program, we're still waiting on hearing back from that. The raise grant, we sent the final paperwork in last week and soon we'll hear something very soon on the raise grant. That'll give us an opportunity to get started on that, which is another reason on our contract to be able to start implementing some of that work. Will be part of our Amendment 6. Infra grant, we're still working through that. We are sending information to FHWA this week to just start moving through that grant agreement process. The Bill 20 grant has officially been signed. We got the email this morning that is now in the Bridge Authority's name. That is actually showing up in the Delphi system already. That actually got there that quick. So that was great. So that is now under Bridge Authority. There's only like $400,000 left of the 5 million, but it's now in your name. So the treaty MOAs, there's been
Something.
activity with most of the tribes. We still have a meeting with Yakima Nation on the 8th of May. We have asked for that to be in the afternoon. So I haven't gotten confirmation on times yet, but we were planning to go to see them
In person, right?
in person. So I'll let you know as we get the actual times.
Great.
But I did email them last week and they confirmed that we still are on their schedule to be there.
Great.
FHWA Legal is working with Nez Perce to set up a meeting with them. It's still looking like maybe early May for that. And our next meeting with Umatilla is is it tomorrow or next? That's tomorrow. So
Question for you on the tribes.
yes.
We had a discussion about negotiating parameters, remember? Did that ever get sent to the tribes? Or through?
We did not. I need to
No.
send that to FHWA.
FHWA.
Yes, I need to still send that to FHWA.
I think it's kind of important to get on record.
We'll send that this week. Umatilla is tomorrow. Hopefully we can make some progress. I need to reach out to the FHWA and see if we can meet. I don't know, Mark's on, but not. What's on?
Mark Green.
Marty's on. That's the one first. I'll follow up with Thomas and Misty to see if they want to meet in the morning.
I think we should,
I do too.
in that they've got an offer on the table that we need to respond to.
I'll check with them about trying to meet before the 2:30 meeting tomorrow. Warm Springs, Misty with FHWA has been working with Warm Springs to lock down a date for our recurring meeting. We're trying to figure out the best day of the week. So she's been sending a number of emails back and forth with them, trying to narrow down what day. So it's looking like Wednesday or Thursday will be the day. So she's just working on time. But that'll set up that recurring meeting that we talked to them about.
Is this something that they look like was something that they wanted, or is that something we're adding?
They had brought it up and agreed at the meeting.
I know there was one
That
person that definitely brought it up.
Yeah, that was them. Hopefully that'll get it going. We can start meeting with them on a regular basis. Other item related to the tribes, of note is that we have had tribal members participate in all of the events so far with the Bridge Aesthetics Committee. ODOT is still planning to do some very specific outreach with them. But it is good to see that they have actually been showing up to the Aesthetics Committee meetings. Right away, we're still working through, we submitted that 117 Form K, I think it was, that allows us to use local match if it's spent before the agreement with Infra. We have not finalized that yet with FHWA. We're hoping to hear back on that in the next couple of weeks. We've set kind of an internal deadline that if by July we do not have an answer to that, or it doesn't look like we're going to go that route, we will need to make a decision as to whether we just go ahead and move forward with the port relocation and port property, not knowing, and it's hopefully we can still have that discussion later. But I think schedule wise, we'll need to make that decision in July of whether or not to give the port notice to go ahead. If we do it either way, we will follow all the federal processes so that we can make sure we document it so that we can get reimbursed or use it as a match is more what we're looking for, is to be able to use it as a local match. We also should start to prioritize the right-of-way work with some of the local agencies, at least start those conversations. I don't know how much the cities and counties and states will want to transfer properties or anything up until we, are fully funded and actually going, but we should start those conversations and whether they're interested in making donations. They can do donations to the property, to the project, and those donations can also be counted as match. So I think that's another place that we could start that may add some efficiencies. The rod, we're just waiting on it to come back out of NIMS General Counsel. It's, I don't know. That's where it's at. So hopefully it'll be soon. Sorry, that's all I got on that. That's it. Thank you.
Very good, sir. Any questions on the report? Okay, we will move down to our invoice approvals on the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda, the invoices.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the invoices. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, let's
Aye.
go on. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm slow on the remote.
Okay, engineering and construction. Commissioner Fox.
Yeah, we had our meeting last week. There was a presentation by Dan Kent, who is a co-founder and executive director of an outfit called Salmon Safe. It's a environmental company that specializes in various actions that protect salmon and runoff from runoff of buildings, land, construction, bridges, and so on. He made a pitch along with Christina, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Wolonkowski, who's the executive director of Columbia River Gorge Commission. And they basically talked about what service they could provide to us, and they proposed that we go after being a certified salmon safe design bridge, which could be really good for us in a couple of different ways. One, I can see maybe using this with our tribal negotiations protecting the salmon. The other one is in funding from both states. This is I would say a positive for us to show that we're trying to be good citizens and building a salmon safe bridge. What that really means is that you think about it, our current bridge is about as bad as you can get as far as salmon safe. Everything runs off the bridge right into the water, including liquids from trucks and cars and so on. On the new bridge, the initial thought was that not just an initial thought, we're going to collect that runoff liquid and water off the deck. And we're going to have to process it, either take it all the way back to the shore and treat it before it gets released back into the river, or there's another option that we want to look at, and it's direct injection into the river through a series of filters,
Still true.
which,
Yes, that's just a different methodology.
yeah, which may be really advantageous to the project, that it could be much cheaper and quicker to build. We have to look at the operation side of the house, but it looks promising. They can help us with that. The other area is in construction runoff. They would review what Kiewit's trying to do and make suggestions if they're not controlling the runoff. Those are the two real big areas. I don't know, did you hear a third one? I think those are the two big ones.
Catherine, do you want to?
Okay.
And I think that the thing that kind of grabbed me were 2 points. One, we know we're going to have to do something innovative to treat the water for all our requirements. Their team reviews the construction practices. Their team is made up of scientists that are in universities that do this type of research. So there's a third party that can help us with something that's innovative and help us understand that it's doing what it needs to do. And then I think the other thing that really captured my attention is there are a lot of salmon safe facilities around the Northwest. This would be the first bridge that is certified as salmon safe. And I think having that over the Columbia with the endangered salmon would be something that's very consistent with our community and our community culture. So
to offset that, there was some concern that I had, is that especially when they brought up scientists, we cannot let this project become a research and development project. We got to build it per the schedule. We made a big point about we may welcome you to participate, but we cannot afford to inject you in series that we can't proceed until you approve. So you got to stay up with us and provide your input, or we're going to keep going. I've got experience on a major project upriver at Hanford. Hanford became a research and development project on a massive scale. We're talking billions and billions of dollars, and schedule going out because the owner got the National Academy of Scientists involved, and then they started studying and planning, and it just became a nightmare. We don't want that to happen on this project. But I believe Dan understands that. That's what we heard from him.
And then on top of that, they're bringing their own funding, except for a certain amount, which is, in my opinion, minuscule, as opposed to innovative being the only bridge in the Northwest is a salmon safe bridge certified, which is an interesting thing. And then the other point I was going to make is I think that our communities are very much tied to the water, and this could be beneficial to the whole project and being a little bit more exciting. Is the word sexy in my, to make my project. So I just wanted to be a little bit more obsessive. But if you have that word of salmon safe and you can get tied into that, I think it's really.
Well, I went in slightly.
So did I, but they were too expensive and
Like,
they would deny, they have no approval on it.
and by the end of the meeting, yeah, this could be a very good idea.
And they're the only ones in the they're the only ones in our area that are doing this. So it's not as though we're, because I'm, for small businesses and stuff and wanting to make sure we do a good process. They're the only ones doing it. So I thought that was another interesting aspect as well. So it'd be an easier way to contract with them.
Yeah, so the way we left it is that they're going to give us a proposal. But I've also asked Mike to get a hold of this guy, Dan, and James from Kiewit and have a discussion about this. We don't want to force this on Kiewit unless Kiewit really sees the benefit of it,
Yes.
and then they come play.
Yeah.
They could very easily put up roadblocks, and we don't.
It's not worth it.
So have they done this on a bridge before, or this is gonna be their first time?
It's the first direct bridge one. They are working on a bridge through something else. Aurora Bridge up in Seattle, and it's not directly tied to the bridge. But yeah,
So
so
they're working on the Aurora Bridge to treat the offlow stormwater from the Aurora Bridge before it hits the canal there. And they're also working on the I-5 bridge with you guys, I think.
Up in Seattle.
yeah, there's another bridge that it's the Aurora Bridge, another bridge we're working with them.
It's another I bridge.
So what they have done is they've certified a number of projects around the Northwest, and actually some of the universities I've worked on have salmon safe practices. So, but this will be the first time they've actually certified a bridge over water for the whole construction.
Okay, we got Scott with OTEC. You got your hand raised and I'll let you speak before I do.
Thank you. Just briefly, the technology, the filter technology, for instance, is fairly well practiced. I worked and installed that on the existing Burnside Bridge probably 25 years ago now. So that is a viable option. Not necessarily from the salmon safe, they didn't certify that one, but there's other examples out there of the various ways to treat the water. Just wanted to say.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I want to say something. I saw it.
Yeah, hey, Scott, question for you. Replacing or changing out the filters, how often was that, do you know? And then the operation side?
They of course they change up when they get plugged up type of thing and whatnot, so it does vary site by site. I would say that your site's probably very low impact. It's when you get sand and stuff on there, so it would probably be you're probably looking at once every couple of years is probably about the time frame you'd look at.
Okay, thank you.
Air filter, basically.
So I'm just looking at their website, and the only things that really jump out to me is to be eligible for certification, an agency or project proponent must demonstrate a commitment to go beyond the regulatory compliance to reduce and address the impacts of the proposed infrastructure. So I would like to know if that's a requirement, what that's going to do for the cost of the program. And then it also says that they provide the design review, construction phase, pollution prevention verification, and guidance related to the long-term project operation. And so if we do enter into it, I want to make sure that our sideboards are very clear that, this is, if you want to certify us because you're bringing your own dollars and this is going to be a keystone project for you, great. But we're not going to change our program.
Yeah, you have to conform to our program. We're not conforming to yours.
Correct.
When we're ready to go, you got to be right there.
we asked them about the criteria stuff. They did not make but we'll get there.
And it scares me a little bit as Jake was talking about, being the first one, if they have any oversight, where they're figuring it out themselves, that could potentially put a hamper in the program. So.
Well, that happens, in my opinion, we keep going.
Yeah. We all know it's going to be a lot more salmon safe than the current one is.
Just want to make sure we get it clear. Can staff take that as direction and start working the salmon safe and bring back to?
No, what I think our action still remains. The three of you guys got to get together and talk about this and make sure that everybody understands when it's time to go, we're not waiting. So they need to get plugged into the schedule and they need to be injecting themselves in at the appropriate time. And we need to make sure Kiewit's okay letting them do that.
Yep.
And if that all works out, yes, then I think you bring a proposal back to the board here to go forward.
Yeah, so it would be meet with Kiewit, understand their criteria, get a definition of that, figure out the contracting mechanism for getting it, then bring back to the board.
Yes.
But work with keep the engineering committee up to date on the discussions as we move forward.
Yes.
Yes.
And lastly, that we asked the question, well, how much money would you be looking for? And the initial response was they're pretty much fully funded through EPA now. Done. So you may have some project-specific cost. He said, he gave us a rough estimate of $40,000
Whole project.
for the entire project for us.
For certification.
Yeah, but I think that has to get codified into the agreement. You know, in the meantime, maybe something that we ought to think about is working through the government relations and asking the question, do our legislators care about this? And would it help us attract the state funding into the project? Are you getting out of the way? By the way, folks, who don't know it, this is Jeff Helfrich. He's a representative from the state on Oregon side. He's also the leading House Republican. Yes, House Republican. And we're glad to have.
Let's roll back. What was the question?
With this concept of salmon safe certified bridge, do you see that would help you convince others at the state to fund this project?
I don't know if that ever was part of the discussion about salmon safe passage. I think it's more about transportation across that, whereas the waterway is controlled by the feds, obviously, and then there's Coast Guard, the Bonneville, or the Corps of Engineers.
Right.
So I think that's more their wheelhouse. Dipping our toe into that, per se, with the Bonneville Pond, which we're a part of here,
Right.
the Bonneville Lake Pond. I don't know if that's really our business to talk about that. I mean, it could be a talking point, if you will, as a footnote, but I mean, really for the funding parts, like, commerce back and forth across the bridge, that's the goal of this project for the state is.
Yeah, and what we said earlier is that the benefit of a new bridge is everything we've already talked about, but including protecting the water from runoff. Right now, the bridge is graded, everything falls right there. So we're fixing that with a new bridge. What this does is it takes that one step further and quote certifies this as a salmon safe.
So when it discharges the river, it's salmon safe.
Clean.
Right.
I'm guessing that would probably get some traction somewhere, but how much does it add to the price tag?
Yeah.
Into the project, and where's that, kind of how's that land? And that, I mean, obviously we want to be good stewards of our environment, to that point. If you're doing nothing now with the runoff because it just falls through, anything's better than that.
Yeah. Well, even if we don't get this certified, it'll be 100 times better than what it is now.
Yeah.
Okay, but maybe we ask that of that committee and then take a look at it up in the Washington area as well.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Hey, what we'd like to do is take this opportunity. If you were out last summer or the summer before when we did our coursing, you were out on the barge with us. So this is for you. That's actually one of the core samples. I don't remember which one, do you? Yeah, there's so many of them. Yeah.
The best one.
Was the best one.
That was the best sample, right?
It was the best sample for sure.
Yeah.
It was one from the day you were out there.
You never help her. Who want that one? Yeah. But, no, thank you. That's awesome. So the reason why I kind of asked for one of these was when I was a police officer in the city of Portland, one of the units I was in was the transit division, Portland Spiro Transit Division. Well, part of my tenure there was in that division was they were doing the tunnel underneath the Washington Park. And so they showed the tunnel, they had the core samples, they had the core samples of the time in history where it went all the way down and talked about the custodian period, all this other, these other things like, that's pretty cool. You gotta get one of those. Oh, no, there's not enough of them to go around. The big warehouse full of these horse animals and stuff. I always thought that was pretty neat. So I was like, I gotta ask you guys if I can have that. Sit right on my desk. I'll like that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for all the support thus far.
Yeah, I know there's
We
more.
just
more
need
work to do.
another 105.
I know, I had a meeting with Dan Bates about that today, so, we're talking the transportation package that's in front of the governor's office right now. I've been harping on that since November, when I became, back in September, when I became leader, but knowing that's what's in front of us right now, there's gonna be some tough decisions and things, we have 2017 transportation package, which Hood River Bridge was part of, but also Rose Quarter, IBR, all those other things, how are they gonna fund those? And, were you able to fund this whole thing through bonding at first go or segment it out? I'm not sure what that looks like, but I know they're gonna have the road show. Hopefully the road show stops here to talk about that. And then it's gonna be some interesting conversations, what that looks like in the funding sources.
Yeah, the neat challenge we've got now, as you know, we got the 200 million federal grant this year. And we've got the 75 from Washington and 20 from Oregon. And we've set ourselves up with the tolls for a TIFIA loan of about $50 to $70 million. So we need another 50 from Washington and 105 from Oregon, and we got us a bridge. But we fired
We
Keywood.
got a down payment on the bridge, not on the bridge yet, yeah.
We've got Keywood on board now. We've hired them. We signed the contract last week. Keywood's going to be the design builder.
Design build, okay.
Yeah, and I think they're actually in the next room there. We've had 2 meetings with them last week down in Portland, where they brought their bridge experts from their company, and HNTV brought their bridge experts, and we spent 2 days really talking about our bridge. So the intent is the rest of this year, we're figuring out all of the big decisions that have to be made to go forward. And then December, we pull the trigger, let it rip, and get the design done, and then we'll build it.
So you have the design firm and the building firm too, or is it 2 separate? Which I'm trying to figure out. The one and the same.
One contractor, and it's what we call a progressive design build. Yeah, so we got one tranche that's designing it. And then periodically, when we're ready, we'll drop a piece of it off, build it into a construction package and go build it. And then down here, we'll slide it.
Design something that's constructible.
Yes, theory, somebody in
Right,
the
and
factories.
it's, so it saves time and money in the whole process, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
But also it's really great as we have as an owner, you have a really great relationship. So if an issue's identified, I mean, this meeting I thought was very beneficial because they learned about all the constraints. So everything's on the table. So they understand the funding constraints. They understand that this other bridge is, not in dire straits, but pretty close, right? So they understand, right? So they understand what's going on and they understand the community dynamics too, which I thought was really beneficial. So it's
Real-time decision
Yeah.
making before you have a,
An interesting concept, actually, they're designing and yeah, that's awesome. I know when you talked about it first, you told me about the concept, like that's a pretty good concept and design as you go, and that's pretty good, so.
Well, that way you have the builder involved in design. So you can't use the excuse when the builder gets the design, this isn't going to work, because they were involved in it from day one.
It's just like if you were engineered whatever car it was, you got the mechanic trying to work on it. How am I supposed to work on this thing? It's a work, right? So I get it. Yeah, stuff. So you say they're over there right now?
We've got James here today. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
that's your quorum.
There's our core. Oh, no, wait.
No, we
got- no, we got to not let go.
Let's make all the decisions.
Let's go.
Barely, yeah. Marla was online.
Probably was.
We still have a quorum, by the way.
I know. All right. Well, we were going to move on to Marla, but she's not online. So, was there anything else from you two from the engineering committee report?
We had the bridge aesthetics.
Yes.
Aesthetics,
How many people showed up?
we had our public open house. We had about 40 people at the open house, so
40 non,
40 non-bridge associated people. Several were part of the committee. So that it'd be nice to have more, but I felt like that was a pretty good turnout compared to some things we've seen. So there seemed to be a lot of agreement on a lot of the ideas that were laid out there. So we're trying to collate those and get that basis and getting ready for our next meeting on May 15th, which will be reduced back to the core group. The question, though, we did want to bring up a little bit that came up in the last meeting is how we run this meeting. Whether we continue to do the hybrid, which I think worked okay last time, or whether we try to go to an in-place meeting where everybody's there or strictly hybrid. The challenge is just running the hybrid meeting. It's really difficult to watch the room, the computer, the comments, and try to get that all fed back in real time. And I told the group I'd bring it up again. The last time we did the meeting here, it was hybrid. Jess did interview those that were at the meeting, and they all felt that it worked pretty well. I did it online. I found it was challenging to kind of interject when I wanted to, and I think I rambled once. So not ideal for me. Maybe that's my own problem. And I'll try to address that. But I said I would bring it up with the committee because I think the original comment somehow came from this group that we ought to be hybrid. And I don't have a strong preference on the way to go. It is easier if you do all one or the other. Like the hybrid is the most difficult to do.
so if you tried to do it all in person, this room's not even big enough to handle you all, is it?
We'd have to find
A bigger stage.
You have to find a space probably, or convert the office out there or something.
And while hybrid is more difficult to facilitate and manage, I'm well aware,
Yeah.
it does work for getting the most amount of people to be included, which I think is what you want, because some of those people are coming from a distance.
Yeah, and we did real well on the workshop and getting people to participate. I don't know how we're 3 weeks out, so it's probably that's where you start to lose people on scheduling things usually. So
Why can't you do it all virtually?
that would be the other option, is to do it all virtually.
Have you had any public show up?
I don't believe we did last time. We did at the workshop that we did over in Hood River. We had a handful of people from the public show up. So, so I guess what I'm hearing is there's a desire that it be handled virtually, and we're kind of non-committal on whether it's a hybrid meeting or not.
You're the chair of that committee, aren't you?
I am.
Then my thought is you manage it how you want it managed.
All right.
The buck stops with you. Or the video.
Just don't mess up.
I know, that's the way it always works. Any way you want, as long as you succeed.
Commissioner Fox, do you have anything else for the hearing side?
No, we had one other little piece that we started looking at Amendment 6 for HNTB. We got partway through the scope document. And we've asked HNTB to do some clarification on it, and that should be back to us on Wednesday night.
Okay, we're gonna push the communications update off until Marla gets here. She was on the way, right?
Well, she showed up.
She was, yeah.
Green for a minute, but
Okay. Move into our action items. We've got action item number 1, the bridge seismic recommendations. Staff report.
Yep, so I included in the packets, some backup information on bridge seismic. There's really three categories to this. So last week, we started to have our task force meetings with Kiewit. So those will happen on the first and third weeks of the month. What we'll try to do is out of those meetings, then bring it to the following week, to the authority decisions that we need the authority to weigh in on. This is the first of those, and that is related to what seismic level you want the bridge designed to. So there's three options, that typically are done. There's and you can look in the packet there, there's ordinary, recovery, and critical. After discussions in the task force meeting, the recommendation is that we move forward with it being a recovery bridge. And we will do, though, at the appropriate point, give you some data on what it would take to make it a critical, just so you have that information if you want to upgrade it. But we thought the appropriate level for this bridge, given where it is in the area, given what the Bridge of the Gods and the condition it's in, given the Dallas Bridge, the other bridges upstream, and the condition are they on. This will be one of the bridges in the area. That recovery made sense, as communication lines, just a coordination area. So if there's any
Do we
questions,
know what the Biggs Junction
I don't
bridge
know.
is?
I don't know if Scott's still on. Scott, probably. Yeah, Scott, do you happen to know the seismic level of the Biggs Bridge?
It's going to be it's not it doesn't have any designation in this regard and whatnot, and it's going to be in a similar level as where the Dalles Bridge is at. It's about the same era, same age, and it has not had a seismic retrofit done to it.
Yeah.
So it would be less than ordinary?
Yes, well, theoretically, so the Dalles Bridge, the Biggs Bridge, and the Bridge of the Gods have not been seismically retrofit to any level. So these levels weren't in place when they were done.
That's why I say it's probably.
So it's probably ordinary at best.
Yeah.
Probably below ordinary.
So is there a difference in cost if we go for critical?
That's what we're gonna bring back to you. So we were gonna design it and go forward with the baseline as the recovery. And then we will bring back to you at some point what the price difference would be, a cost difference, so you at least would know.
Why are we waiting that long to come back with a? It would seem like you guys should be able to tell us grossly, it's a 25% penalty to go from recovery to critical.
I don't have the expertise in that. So Scott, I don't know if we talked about it. They said it would be best to come back later once we actually pick the bridge type, because I think that has a lot to do with it. So Scott, I don't know if there is any kind of gross measures to the difference between recovery and critical.
It's extremely difficult. It's extremely hard to put a number to that. I would say that I don't think you're going to see a large difference between the two. And I think a big part of that is that I think you'll find that largely your lateral forces, which is what we're talking about in the structure in this case, are going to be controlled by the ship collision. Is really probably going to be the thing that gets there. And ultimately, I think you're going to find that you're going to take care of it from the ship collision standpoint, and lo and behold, by extension, it'll cover that critical, even go up as high as that critical requirement. And I think that's probably the thing that really kind of factors into that as much as anything. So
okay, so Scott, how long can we wait, and how much work can you do? And if we come back and say we want to go recover to critical, how much of that work do you have to redo?
At this stage, probably very little.
Okay, a month from now. Back up. When can you tell us what the difference is going to be? After we've selected, it's going to be whatever type bridge. I want to have that discussion before you guys get heavily into design and find out that if we went back the other way, we're going to throw out a bunch of design and time.
And Scott, if I heard you right, what one of the items is that seismic may not be actually the controlling design element.
That's what.
If ship collision is actually, vessel collision is actually the design element that controls, then you'll meet all the seismic anyways, because it won't be controlling the design. So it'll be, I don't know, Scott, when will we know what's the controlling design element?
We should have from my perspective, I guess what I've been thinking about is this is something that would go into your final design criteria. So this is ultimately a decision that lands at the end of phase 1A and then carries forward from there. And so I think we're collecting from my thought processing, we're collecting data so we can establish that and then put that formally into the design criteria. Ultimately, it figures into that development of that criteria, so it'll be a phase along the way, and we'll see what's coming, and then at some point, then it'll come to the authority to say yes, this is what we want to do when we get that information there. But it'll be ultimately the decision will be the acceptance of the entire design criteria underneath the phase 1A package. Is what my thought process was on that. So
I would recommend that we give them approval for a recovery type bridge with the agreement that prior to development of the OPC at the end of this year, we have a follow-on discussion that verifies we're going to go with the recovery. At that time, we'll know what the cost penalty is to go to critical and the other factors. Does that make sense?
I think that's a very rational way to go at it. Yes,
So
from my opinion.
do we know that we have a critical pathway to get to this bridge? So 84 is critical, okay, and 84 out to the Dalles. The Dalles, you probably know more about this than I do, but the airport there is starting to set itself up to be a critical piece of infrastructure. So being able to get from Dallas Port over to the Oregon side starts to be a critical issue.
Yeah. I mean, I guess-
Oregon's recovery plan is to establish the Redmond Airport as their solid location, and they are working to harden, if you will, the 97 corridor and 197 up to the Dalles, and the reason for that mostly is because you do start falling off with some of your seismic forces as you go further to the east, and so that's actually a fairly simple corridor for them to do from an upgrade standpoint. So that's how Oregon's approaching it. I'm not sure how Washington is. It sounds like Dallasport, the airport at Dallasport is aiming for a similar sort of a designation, which would make sense in that context.
The Dallasport regional airport will not be the first line. It'll be like the second line.
Mhm.
I believe they're going to use Moses Lake as the primary.
Right, makes sense. Mhm.
Yeah.
But this bridge is still going to be really important to recovery.
So
The only way you get to the Dalles Airport is from this area. We'll be able to come to our bridge, go across 84, and potentially back up to the Dalles if the Dalles is still up, because it's far enough away.
So I'm taking what you said. What I'm hearing is that I would entertain a motion to approve the project team to move forward with the designation of the Hood River White Salmon Bridge as a recovery bridge at the minimum, as defined by Oregon DOT.
And before the OPC is completed, we'll have another discussion about this.
We just know that it's cost differential because that is where we are unknown. That is the unknown piece of data.
And I just looked up where our design criteria package actually comes in July, so we should have a pretty good
Right.
idea when it comes in.
So
So moved.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second to move on setting the recovery bridge as a minimum as defined by ORDOT. All those in favor, any further discussion? And anything?
Nope, I'm following.
It was just a test. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. I was hoping Marlon was watching me. Okay, our next item of new business is Amendment 6 to the HMTV contract, overview.
So we are setting up our next amendment. This is actually the first amendment with the Bridge Authority. And what we're proposing here, and actually when we thought about it a little more, we felt we need to modify this after some discussion. Is to allow the engineering committee and finance committee with the first co-chair to work with HNTB to come to resolution and negotiate their fee for both the oversight of the PDB contract, other services outside of the PDB contract, as well as the raise grant work. And bring that then, I think, back to the board as a special meeting for board approval. So that part is not in the motion, is to bring it back to the board. But I think that needs to be added in, as well as some contract modifications to make our contract terms in line with the PDB contract, with the end of contract date. We did 2032, which I know is a year longer. Part of that is because we have to do closeout. At the end of a project, with done projects, the closeout is probably worse than the whole project. But just to give time to do that closeout as well. It doesn't change the approvals or amendments. Will still, just like with the PDB contract, you're only authorizing funds through phase 1. And then we will recontract other amendments as we get into other phases. The other contract terms are making the alignment on reimbursement for expenditures and what calculating quotes. So it could be like hotels, for example, we're 149. We did 124 with Kiewit. That's the closest we can get to a GSA rate. So we want to adopt the same policy, as well as per diem travel, clarifying that for everybody on when you get travel, when you don't, what distance you have to be, just providing some additional details contract.
I have a question about that.
Mhm.
So since we are having a meeting about an HNTB contract, is HNTB going to be in the room with us in our meeting to talk about? I'm just wondering.
Well, you can throw us out at any time and have your private discussion, yes.
But it would be, but we,
So here's what I would suggest.
thank you.
I think we need them in the meeting for at least a bit.
Great.
Okay, so when we have questions on the scope of work document
Mhm.
and then on the cost spreadsheets, we can ask our questions directly to HNTB.
Correct.
They can give a response. Then I think they got to go away. And then we will have our own internal discussion about how do we feel about what we see. Do we see areas that are lacking and need clarification? There's areas that we don't think are correct as far as cost, and we can formulate a response back.
So for that, since it's a public meeting, because it's going to be a bunch of us here, would we, is that considered executive session then? Because
We can enter into executive session during for contract negotiations that have an impact on.
That's probably
what we should be doing.
Yeah.
that's what I was hoping to make sure we were just considering, well, whatever the formalities is of that, because that's not my job.
And that's gonna be a hybrid meeting as well, so we'll have to have access to be able to remove and everything. Okay. So, any other thoughts on this before I,
So on top of the schedule, scope and budget, we have to actually materialize the owner of this contract is Bridge Authority, not the port. That's gonna be the upfront. Sure.
Yep. So,
Well, this is going to become much more frequent. So this is our first time doing this. In the past, the way we did it under the port, we hired a rep to actually do a study of their cost and their scope. And then I sat with a rep And we came up with a recommendation to the port agreed to it or not. We voted on it and off we went. So this time, port's totally out of it. We're learning how to do this ourselves.
Correct.
But we're gonna be doing this at least yearly from now on. So it's good that we,
Does anybody remember how much we paid A-Rep last time?
I do not.
And there was
Kevin, do you remember?
first.
Yeah, I want to say there was two contracts, and I want to say they were in the 20 to 40,000 range total.
Yeah, I think they were more towards the 40 each.
Now you all know how much your time is valued at.
It's like we're saying, okay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it is. We are saying,
Write that off.
Ben,
It's a local match.
In kind donation.
Do we have any, and are there any contracting requirements that we should be aware of going into this negotiation?
No, we're actually, I don't think so. We're just reviewing a current contract.
it's just
for a
a
month.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, the contract that the port procured is the contract that carried over, so. I think all of that should still be okay, and it was reassignable and. Kevin, you all procured it using Oregon procurement.
Yeah, it was the highest level procurement. It was pretty competitive, followed ODOT procurement processes.
We did on Keywood, is basically what we did
Yeah.
on these guys.
But we don't have like a small business requirement. We don't have, I mean, we're in.
We do.
We have an
Do?
8.5%.
It's a federally funded project now.
So do we need to have, so I'm sorry to ask this question, everyone, but do we need to have an RFP review where we read the RFP, like is to ensure that they're, you see what I'm saying though?
because
I don't think you do.
Usually don't have.
Great.
It's an-
So I have not read, I'm not gonna lie, I have not read the RFP for which you've won, so I don't actually have the basis of information to understand, you know what I mean? So
In a nutshell, we agree on what they're gonna do
Right.
per year.
Understood.
They price it,
It's set.
then we
And
go.
it's not to exceed amount, just like he went.
Okay.
I found Eric's review here, if anybody's interested.
Just looking at it, so yeah. Okay,
I mean, I kind of, maybe to piggyback off what you said. I wonder, is it better to potentially, instead of extend the contract, since we're changing organizations, going from the port to this bridge committee, is that something that we want to maybe extend ourselves and say, we're gonna sign a new contract as opposed to extending one that started with the port of Hood River?
Well, remember, this contract was really a multi-year contract, but we release dollars and scope on a yearly basis.
Mhm.
The last thing we want to do is go back out and redo it.
Yeah, 'cause
We've got to go
if we
through
do
the whole process.
lose the historical knowledge of the current entity, and that would be,
No,
I
I
wasn't asking that, I was just asking the RFP requirements for like small business. So that's all I was asking.
Right, that's a good question if we are expanding the initial scope of work. So I think we are, and if we didn't, that's kind of a change.
There you go.
But as we are doing the same scope of work all the way from the beginning, I don't think there's a need for the re-procuring.
Yeah, I've got contracts that are on like Amendment 13 that have been out there for 12 years, but certain subcontractors, it's normal, it's regular in the business. So, is there anything else? I would entertain a motion to authorize the first co-chair. No, he doesn't.
Okay.
To
I
authorize
was
the
just gonna
first,
say that that contract, the procurement that we did for HNTB was done with the intent of it either being handed off to a future bridge authority or even one of the states.
Oh, very smart.
thank you, Kevin. Okay,
I want to do that.
I would entertain a motion to authorize the first co-chair to work with the Engineering and Construction Committee and the Finance Committee to negotiate Contract Amendment 6 with HNTB.
Second. So moved.
Second.
There we go. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ben. All right. Has anybody heard from Marla? Thank you for texting her. And I thought I saw Jessica online. Oh, Jessica's still there. Jessica, since Marla's not around, would you like to start with our communications update?
I'm actually turning it over to Anna, who's been coordinating more closely.
Hi, Anna. Didn't see you online.
Hey there, no worries. Yeah, I think the big thing we've been focused on, of course, is the open house that was last week for the Bridge Aesthetics Committee. And as Eric, as commissioner, pointed out, that was a success. And Jess, was there something from the last committee meeting that I'm missing?
No, I honestly don't know what all Marla was hoping to provide an update on. I think a lot of us have been very focused on the Bridge Aesthetics outreach. And our team is very focused on promoting the online open house that's still live for another week and a half. So you will see some additional communications coming out through social media just to get more participation while it's still open. But that is what I've got. So short and sweet.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, question for you, Jessica.
Yeah.
You guys had a whiteboard with, I guess, for open issues or questions at the open house. When are you going to publish what was on there? I saw it early on, but I didn't see it at the end. And there seemed like there was a page full of stuff.
Yes.
It'd be interesting to know what that stuff was.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in the process of typing up all the things from the flip charts and all the comment forms that we received. And we're going to summarize all of the in-person feedback and the online feedback that we get at the same time. So that way we can roll it up into the most prominent themes. And so we'll have that full summary available in 2 weeks. That said, because the online open house is still live for another week and a half. So we're still receiving public comment right now. And so we can always send raw information. If you want us to type up what's on those flip charts and send it to the commissioners in advance, we can do that.
I would just suggest you take whatever you got, and it doesn't have to be real pretty, but at the next meeting, report out on it.
That sounds great. Happy to.
Yeah, and you can spend additional time later, analyzing and whatnot, but before it goes cold on us, it'd be interesting to see what it was.
Great. Can do. Thank you.
We're going to take a little bit of a break and introduce our federal representative, Dan Newhouse. He's stopping by. He's just here for a couple short minutes. He's got to be up to the.
You guys.
Sir, how are you?
I'm good. Good. Everybody. Ashman, good to meet you too. You guys are awesome. Nice to meet you too. Guys, around there, buddy.
Rep Newhouse has been absolutely instrumental in helping us get federal funding for our little bridge.
Well, we're taking baby steps here. It's good. It's good.
Hey, we got something for you.
Journey.
Last year, we did some core sampling for the new foundation. And we saved some of them. And for those special friends of ours that really help us. So,
well, thank you. So this is out of what?
That's a core sample that we've drilled down into the roughly 130 feet into the bedrock. So our new bridge will be sitting up in here.
Have a good, strong foundation. It'll need that for a long time.
Yeah. Now ask us how the current bridge. It's about 30 to 60 feet above solid rock.
Oh,
yeah, it's not good.
Amazing. It's lasted as long as it.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about right now?
Yeah, this is all talking about, how we're going to get our bridge built, and we've got Kiewit now on board as a progressive design build contractor.
Good.
We had two really good meetings last week in Portland, all-day meetings, where Kiewit brought their world experience bridge people. HNTB brought their world experience bridge people together, and we had 2 days of really good discussions about, okay, how are we going to build this one? And keep it under the 520.
Good.
So,
Good. Also, well, that sounds like progress.
yeah, making progress.
Well, hopefully.
Oh, and see the sign up there? On the corner?
1987.
That's 1987 days until we open the new bridge.
Is that, oh, there's a picture of it too. Huh?
Yeah.
That looks pretty big and fancy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good, you guys. Well, good work. You guys will be remembered around here for a long time for getting this done.
Hopefully
well.
Might be a few bumps along the way.
Sure there will. You want to take them over and introduce them to?
Yeah.
Kiewit, so there.
We don't want to take too much of your time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll keep working as hard as we can in DC to make sure that there aren't too many bumps in the road.
I'm glad it worked out. We're gonna be here and we can stop by.
Yeah, if we can manage what types of bumps there are.
Well, this is a great team.
It's not hazardous.
If this team can't do it, nobody can do it.
I didn't meet everybody here.
Congrats.
Great. Glad to meet you. Thank you, Han. Mr. Han. Yeah. Glad to meet you. And you're going to kick me out.
Good job.
Thank you for coming, sir. I know you got to get up there.
Yeah, we're supposed to go to the hospital. Heard you were here, so.
See you.
So yeah, I can just Commissioner. All right, yeah, we'll see you later. Thank you.
See you talk to good word tonight. All right.
Okay, Marla sent me a message. She's on her way. JLA can cover the high level. Getting proposals for the lobbyists for the 2025 contracts. Did you mention that? Working on the state and federal government relations focus. Open house. So I think JLA covered most of it. And if there's anything else, oh, hi, Anna. Nothing else?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Okay, we'll move on then. Informational items.
Yes, information items, risk register, we do have a risk workshop scheduled for the 23rd, May 23rd. So we're getting get that on people's calendars. Be on probably half a day or all day workshop to get a preliminary list together. And then we'll do a full workshop at the end of the phase 1A.
I think there's one that I'd really like to get added to that, and that came out of the meeting last week, which is we got to be careful building our foundation impact on the current bridge foundation.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So as we go through, we got a number of risk items out of the 2-day bridge workshop, but also out of our task force meetings and progress meetings that we're having now. We're also populating and working the risk register as well as scope of all. So we'll continue to do that. And the updates will start to get more active once we start actually getting the workshop done and start managing it.
And then I think as that happens, you get it into the master schedule, and then the ENC group really starts watching it.
And we'll start reviewing those risks much in more detail with the ENC committee too, as we start going.
Can't wait.
We do have another Bridge Authority meeting that overlaps a holiday, Veterans Day, November the 11th. We don't have to make a decision today on it, but just check your calendars and we can determine if we want to.
Well, as a veteran, I think that we should have a meeting because the schools are out and they don't give us childcare. So I would love to come to this meeting. not have to do. It's
If you
that's
want
just-
to go that way, we don't get that day off, so that's fine with us if you want to meet that. So just something to keep, we'll follow up with you on that.
I will be unavailable that day.
Well, cancel. There you go. Cancel.
So I wanted to confirm, the Spanish translation of the Bridge Authority meetings, meeting agenda is meeting minutes. JLA has somebody, they can add on as a sub to do that. We were checking, around to see who everyone else was using and no one else is doing it. So we wanted to make sure, do we want to continue with that? I think Jessica, remind me, is about $10,000 for, next door to provide those services to us to be able to translate them. Is that correct?
You know, I'd have to look back at the emails, and it's not Nextdoor, it's a different subcontractor, because Nextdoor unfortunately doesn't provide translation services, but I can confirm that just in a couple minutes for you.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we reached out to Hood River County, we reached out to the port. The White Salmon translates their no, it's not the
Ordinances.
ordinances, sorry, thank you, ordinances.
Yeah.
But we just want to make sure if we do, great. I think the discussion was that we want to be a little different and maybe do something that others were not doing, so I just wanted to make sure.
So two questions. Have we, Jessica or Amy, have we gotten a request from the public to provide this? Or is this, we think it would be a good idea? Tag, you're it, Amy.
Anna.
Or Anna, I'm sorry.
Not it.
Yeah, I am not aware of a request from the public. I think this conversation started from the last Bridge Authority meeting when some commissioners brought up the option to do this, if my recollection is correct.
Yeah, I think that's correct, and I think this came out of, there were a couple of commissioners that had asked what level of translation do we want to do? We can do, the Zoom account can display the captions during the meetings in Spanish. It does not do very well at translating after the fact. It's possible to read, even the English one, it's not very good.
Right.
So this was more the agendas and the minutes and those items.
Do we have any requests from at the port to do anything in Spanish?
They do translate like notifications and stuff,
Yeah.
but not packets or meetings.
Yeah, but nobody's asked for it that you know of.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, with the county, when we do community events, when we go places, we do have translation services available. But as far as Board of Commissioner meetings and notes that they don't provide those in Spanish. So this would be above and beyond sort of what everyone's doing in the region.
So you do for outreach, but not for general business, it'd be kind of a.
Right, interesting.
Anna.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up that I'm looking at the email thread here, and yes, Jess says it will cost $10,000, maybe slightly less to translate the agendas and minutes for phase 1A.
I understand it's a little bit above and beyond, and I understand that not everyone's doing it. And I don't think somebody who's not receiving the information will ask to receive it in the language that they are utilizing, because it's hard for them to potentially navigate they would call in the first place. And so as opposed to potentially with that language barrier, if they're needing it translated, we're asking them to ask us. And that literally might be a barrier that's right there. So I urge us to consider spending $10,000. I understand we're short of money, but in the whole scheme of things, if we want to bring equity to this project, we need to meet people where they are. Language is a big deal. So
If there's a way that, assuming that we go ahead with that, is there a way that we can judge? Are we getting any benefit from it? Or is our Spanish community actually looking at this stuff?
I think that is
Impossible.
correct. And I also think that that's not the way you would measure it. I think it would be measured on the other side of it is how much are we creating access to the community to allow them to then receive the information. I don't think you can ask somebody, did you read it if it hasn't been in their language?
No, I agree with that. I'm saying, how do we judge that we spent the $10,000 and people were actually using it?
I think that's a valid question, but I think it comes from our own culture perhaps, and maybe not other cultures where the fact that you actually provide it and it's available and it will always have been available 100 years from now when the bridge is there, that's the value in it, not whether someone's reading it today or not. Someone inevitably will, but trying to quantify that in real time, I don't think is where your value
So as a
proposition is.
comparison, we're spending a fair amount of money to do this stuff in English for 2% of the white salmon population. When you look at the number of people that attended the meeting, the board meeting or the bridge athletics meeting, we did it 100% in English. 40 people attended. That's just over 2% of white salmon's population. And we spent a lot more than $10,000 to do that.
Thank you.
So I'm hearing both sides and I'm all trying to find a middle ground. One thing I think that could everyone agree on is any of the posts that we put out on Facebook or anything that we're asking for public participation, that we can do that in English and Spanish. We can't get anybody to come and provide public comment no matter what. And honestly, as long as we're doing good work, nobody's going to come and provide public comment. Would that be a better place to get the value for that? Would be for all of our outward facing stuff. You know, our board meetings are technically for us, you know, except for the public comment 3-minute portion. And I know that all the others aren't doing it, but like the city of White Salmon is doing a really good job. Like every time Marla puts something out, she also puts out another post, you know, on Facebook that is in Spanish, and that goes a long ways. And I've heard a lot of good for that. But that's the stuff that you're projecting outwards. In terms of us, you know, for our internal discussions, the city doesn't do that. And so that's why I'm trying to find, is that a happy medium that might not cost $10,000, but it would cost $5,000. And then with those, as we start pushing that out on the Facebook, if we get requests for the minutes or the agenda, that's something we can add to it. And of course, if we ever get a request from anyone, then absolutely we do it.
I would say we have to put out on social media then in Spanish saying, do you want to read our agendas and minutes in Spanish? I think that needs to be a recurring post.
Yes.
Prior to each of the meeting minutes being posted, et cetera. I think that could be its own. So Jaylee, I'm looking at you. We definitely want to make sure we're having, if that's the request, because now we're putting the onus on the person, not on us, right? We're saying, if you want to know this information, you need to request it. We need to make that sure that it's able to be readable on all the social media outlets, because if that's saying we just get one request, we're going to do it. If we only say it in English in this meeting, then we're missing.
No, that's where I was going though, is so when we put stuff on our Facebook page in Spanish, at the bottom says, do you want to know more in Spanish? Please email us at our email address and we can get you that information.
Who receives those requests that will be coming in Spanish?
It would be going to JLA because JLA is running the account.
Right.
So our webpage is not multilingual, right? It's only English.
So what I thought you did.
Do we have a translate button on our site?
Eric's totally
Waiting. I'm just thinking, all of the documents that we got out there's a lot of documents that if we have to translate, it's going to be a lot more than $10,000.
There are some free apps that folks can use actually on their side as well, just to kind of throw that out there, that can translate for other folks. And even folks that attend our Zoom meeting, they could even launch the translate captions on their end too, just to keep that in mind.
Should we put something out on the Bridge Authority site that just is like a white paper, very engineering work to say, but put something out there that says, options for translation, or if you would like, if you needed, here's some free options of how you can do that. Put that on.
I like that idea.
That's helpful.
Yeah, there it is. With the interaction that we're looking with when we're requesting feedback, we do Spanish and everything else. It's all just English.
Can you switch the website? Just. the whole
Can on the
website?
user,
That's one
right
of
here,
those.
over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Does it translate to the phone?
I don't speak
Yeah,
Spanish.
my computer is Spanish only from now on. I'm gonna come.
Yeah.
There it is. So it is in Spanish. Okay.
Whole thing from Spanish. On the website.
And it goes back.
Anna.
How about Chinese?
No, only, no.
English, Spanish.
Yeah, it looks like you guys found it, but I believe both of the websites, both the project site and the Bridge Authority site are full, in terms of the text, not of course, and if there's a attached PDF or link PDF or something, it wouldn't translate that, but all the other text is translated, and I did take like 8 years of Spanish in high school and college, and it seems to be pretty correct to me. And also to Commissioner Anderson's point about the outreach in Spanish, it's what we have been doing for the length of the project is any outreach about opportunities to give feedback. We put that out in both English and Spanish. And so we are currently doing that as just a best practice. And then we currently have the survey out, the Bridge Aesthetics survey out in English and Spanish. And we've had all like the tolling survey we also had in Spanish as well.
So if it goes out to our website in English, there's a button or two that you can push that automatically versions to Spanish.
The replacement side, not the authority side.
The authority website does not do that?
No.
We could see about fixing that.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then the only translation we would need if we had public meetings or public outreaches doing a translation there. We don't need anything translated verbiage wise because the system will already do it.
Correct, just the agendas and meeting notes.
Okay, so that why not even the meeting notes? If you do the meeting notes and
it doesn't go inside a document and translate the document, it just translates stuff that's on the page. So if the document is an attachment in English, it stays English. If it's something written on the website, it translates what's on the site.
Okay.
So Anna, are you doing that in-house then for the translation right now for everything that goes on the Facebook pages?
Yeah, mostly. It depends a little bit because when it starts to overlap with like open house materials, we do outsource that because it's just so much content. But a few paragraphs here and there, yeah, we do that in-house all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm okay with the 10,000. It's peanuts in total.
And it's staying within budget. It's not a budget change, right?
Yeah.
Mike Fox is part of it. They usually agree. Right.
No, don't put that on.
You're right. We have not agreed a couple times, but yeah.
I
know. I read the minutes.
There are scads of tools online that will translate PDFs, Word documents into almost whatever language you want. So the tools are out there. We can push them forward to whoever needs them.
Yeah.
Just a general, but so if someone makes a FOIA request, can they request conversion to Spanish? That be something that?
That's a legal question.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Or did you start providing something?
Right. Are we opening ourselves up to a situation where someone says, I would like everything that you've ever done in Spanish since you've provided some of it already? I guess that's where I always go to the, worst case scenario, I guess.
How about that happens, we talk about it at that point.
So,
right?
So that wouldn't necessarily, I'm trying to think. So if it was in Washington, you can request documents that have already been produced. You cannot request them through FOIA to create a new document.
Yeah.
There might be a different law that deals with transcription and translation services, but that's primarily in the judicial branch where that's allowed by law. I don't know. I haven't dealt with it at the county. That's a good question, though.
That's interesting. Okay, so we are okay to add the 10K to the contract under JLA, and we will start putting agendas and minutes out in Spanish.
We're not adding, I don't.
Yeah,
think
you're-
we're-
yeah,
we're okay. Hang on, hang on.
We're okay to move forward with it. We're not, sorry, not adding, we're adding it, but not adding budget.
Correct.
To have them start to do that sentence. Including it in.
Second.
I'm hearing consensus. It was,
I don't know that it necessarily.
it doesn't change the budget.
We already did that.
Okay,
Great.
all right. Good.
We already did that
We'll
last.
find a way to make it till 4 o'clock one way or another.
Okay, so let's have a couple more. Partnering workshop. There is a partnering workshop that is now scheduled for May 22nd. It will be here at Bridge Authority office from 8 to 3 p.m. We are good with that contract. We did go back out after the discussions last week and did some additional solicitation. And just ended up where we were. There was nobody that we found better. And I think we're all good now.
Yeah,
Contract,
I'm gonna provide the memo to address that any concern you might have.
And are we gonna change the governance administration meeting, the Hood River White Salmon Bridge Authority quarterly meeting,
We will have to move some meetings around.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in May, not April.
I'm looking at May.
Okay.
May
Just wanna
20th.
make sure.
How many owner reps do you want at that meeting?
That would be a good discussion for you all to have right now. We will invite whoever you want to have there.
Who wants to go? How many are we expecting?
Yeah,
So
We are keeping the Kiewit to the key staff. That works
About 30?
6 or 7 folks, and maybe 1 or 2 of our execs that will not be billing the project.
Okay, 6 each or 6 total?
6 each.
6 each. So we're already at
Well,
12.
We were figuring, I think she was figuring 20 to 25 people. And then in the afternoon, we will have, I think we're gonna do, we haven't completely locked all of this down. We will have a morning session and an evening session. The afternoon session will bring in our stakeholders like FHWA, ODOT, WashDOT, which will be more like, a couple people from there.
Why don't we do the heads of the committees so that if there's anything that needs to get back, it can get filtered back in. And we can figure that.
Oh, how many is that? That's 5?
5, if you did the ticket.
Four.
areas and the- it'll be
4?
Unless you're counting aesthetics, then it's 5.
Oh, let's count them out. Who are they? So it's on me,
Okay.
Grant,
Three,
3,
Arla,
4,
Arthur,
5.
Eric.
No, 5 is fine. I think you 2 need to be in there as well. And the reason that I can justify that
Bigger place down there.
is that these guys are gonna be part of the team that's overseeing the whole enchilada that, and they've gotta be, I think it'd be.
Let's see.
How many get out of it?
I was.
You can get out if you want.
Well, no, I know, if Fox wants us to be there, I'm checking my, right, that's me.
It's a whole.
I'm aware.
The whole point of the partnering thing is for everybody to. I've done a lot of these and it feels like a big investment. But the investment pays off 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road. And you gotta think of it that way. It's an investment over the next 24 months or 48 months.
You know, the other thing is as more seats we fill with us, the cheaper it's gonna be, because that's a seat that's not getting filled by somebody we're paying.
That doesn't make sense. We're saving the project money.
Yeah, local match. Local match.
In kind of nature.
Good, is Mike Moore still on?
Right.
Okay. Do we
But
want?
then the risk register, what's that one? Sorry, not.
Yes.
That's right.
We'll open up the partnering workshop to any other commissioner that wants to join in as opposed to just the chairs and these 2 folks.
if we're gonna get a bigger spot, we can have more people. I think, we had one, what was there, 40 people on that last one? And there weren't very many of us. This is a partnering and we're all want to be there. The
Are you
people
talking
who
about the risk register one, the risk?
No, he was on the first.
He's like, I'm not going to the risk register. No.
As assuming that we'd want as many commissioners to be there, partnering one as possible, just to get everybody on the same page and involvement, et cetera, et cetera. But you make it required for us and
then
volunteer.
Yeah, that's a good way. Okay. And I'm not requiring you to do anything. You're a volunteer in the first place. But if you can't make it, send somebody else from your subcommittee. Voluntold.
All right, and then we do have a risk workshop on May 23rd, which is the next day. It's right now scheduled to be a half a day. That may grow a little bit, be able to get all the disciplines and discussion that needs to happen. Again, we need to know who would like to participate in that.
Same question.
I'll tell you, I think the three of us need to be in there. And I personally believe you and one or two of your staff need your committee. Your unpaid staff volunteer.
I think
be in there.
I've got
Ben.
I've got a BOCC meeting, I'm pretty sure. So,
and the reason why I think you need to be in there is that as the OPC comes into play, we're going to have to do a contingency analysis. And the contingency analysis is going to be driven by risk.
Is there a virtual option for the risk register?
We can do that.
Okay, so I have a meeting that I've waited. Yeah, so I'll be in and out and then out and then for the risk register one, but I'll be there.
You can sign me up to join for that.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
That's a Wednesday.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday. Not on the same day as our engineering meeting.
How many of you thought you were going to be a full-time volunteer when you started this project?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, the exterior sign, how many notes?
I saw it. I did. It's so pretty.
Just say you did, even if you didn't.
It's right next to Michael's office.
It is,
I
yeah.
love it.
Quick fun when Ben was really old and all. But yeah, so that in the guy that does all the paint and stuff here. All right, so that is up and done. Congressionally directed spending we talked about. And then action items. On the biological opinion, I'm gonna revise that action item list to now put the treaty MOAs on there and the NEPA reevaluation, so we can track that. We also did develop a schedule for the NEPA that Karin is in the process of running through ODOT to get their sign off on.
Okay.
Once she does, then we'll share that with the E&C committee. I think that's something else that she's been given. We're gonna track dates.
And
She's
stack
got
them.
that. Yep.
I have a question about the RFP for the auditor.
Yes.
What committee is that?
That'll be through the finance committee through Duffy.
Good luck.
So, and I forget this, do we have to have a budget with Debbie?
We gotta
receive that. We gotta receive on that
for the first year.
Yeah.
But he still has to put together a budget for us. Right, Debbie? Is that true?
Yes, from an Oregon standpoint, your budget will be pretty simple because you're going to have grants coming in and capital outlay going out. What we do have to do is get a budget committee together though. And I know I brought this up once before, but we really do need to advertise for budget committee members because you need 6 budget committee members. I know that next legislative session, Mark Greeno was talking about approaching the legislature about getting you out of some of the Oregon budget law requirements because you don't get any property taxes, and Oregon budget law really focuses on entities that get property taxes. And so there's a simpler process typically for entities that don't have any property taxes. But for this year, we do need to get together a budget committee and put together a budget for that. We also should be looking though at a better budget for you for next year for management purposes and for for looking at performance and things like that, so that you'll have something with a little more detail in it to work with. But from a legal standpoint, your budget is pretty simple.
Debbie, can we just appoint the actual authority itself as the budget committee?
The authority is the budget. So you have the 6 appointed members, the regular members, and then you need 6 citizen members. And I believe, and I don't think that Mark Greeno is on this call, but I do believe that Mark felt like they needed to be outside of the bridge authority. So not the alternates, unfortunately.
So Debbie, how does that work if we have members from Washington? Would the budget committee members have to be all Oregon residents? And then how does that manage?
So you're really getting into legal questions, but actually I did ask Mark that question, and he does not think that there's a problem if you want to have 3 from Washington and 3 from Oregon. They do need to be registered voters, and they would need to be in Klickitat or Hood River counties, because that's kind of your coverage area. But Oregon budget law wasn't really designed for your type of entity.
Right.
And it wasn't clarified in the legislation. So Mark and I have talked about this, but he does feel like we just need to follow the Oregon budget law. Oregon budget law is very big on transparency. So I believe as long as we're giving it a good faith effort, then there won't be a problem with it.
We also don't need to fill the 6 seats from the public. We need to advertise and have them available. So if we don't get enough interest back, that's fine. We've done this before where City of Hood River, for example, has not had a full complement of 6 public people on the budget committee now and then, just because people haven't filled the seats. So it's okay if we run vacant seats, as long as we've gone through the process and advertised for them. And
so we have to put it in the newspaper and do the
thing. Yeah.
I've seen all those postings. I don't respond.
I know, it's great. Thanks.
Everybody loves to do budgets.
You would love to chair it.
So Debbie,
I'm tired of chairing it.
Debbie, the budget we're talking about would be a portion of the capital budget for building the new bridge and a little bit of operational costs to process administrative type things during construction.
Yeah, but the whole thing is since you're a single project, you exist for a single project. So it can all be coded as capital outlay under Oregon budget law, because it's just your whole purpose is to build the bridge. And so that administrative piece is really just overhead on the project. So it's
okay, but you're looking for a 12-month period only.
Yes.
Right, July 1 of 2024 to June 30th of 20.
Just like how you do the port budget.
Yeah. So we have.
We're going to have
2 months to get this done, right?
Because he wants to go at the end of phase 1A, which is the end of the year. He's going to want to go
right
July to July.
It's a budget, so it's just you can put whatever, you just can't spend over it.
So we basically take your cash flow and slice it in these 12 months periods, and that's what we give them.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Now, would you like? Good.
Debbie, we have a deadline of June 30th, right?
Yes, to get an adopted budget, yes.
We need to
yes,
advertise.
we do need to get moving on that, because we have to advertise and have a public hearing.
This year.
I
thought we were going to be exempt this year.
Thank you.
Exempt us.
Yeah,
No, you were exempt for this fiscal year that ends June 30th.
Okay. I thought I heard we were going to get an extra year.
Not next year.
You're exempt here.
So that means June 30th. So we need to advertise in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we need to advertise now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Spanish.
Right now. Advertise now, and we'll get it done at the very start of June.
What do you want me to read off the directives? There's a bunch of them from this one.
Do I want you to read off the directives to staff on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us what we did.
All right, is everybody ready?
I'm waiting.
We need to send the treaty MOA in the negotiation position to FHWA. Set up a meeting with FHWA to prep for Umatilla. Start the contracting process with Salmon Safe, which includes meetings with Kiewit. Get ENC updated as we go, define their contract terms. And then get GR input on the impacts of having that contract. Eric's gonna determine the BAC meetings, types, whether it's in person or hybrid. Bring back the costs associated, with the seismic criteria, to go from,
Ready to,
whatever the middle one was, I can never remember the one, to critical, and recovery. To set up a special session, with an executive session for next week for Amendment 6.
Oh, no, Friday.
No, there's
Yeah.
gonna be a special
know.
meeting Friday, and then there's
Yeah.
gonna be a special meeting next week.
Not next week.
One for Friday, one for next week.
Do we have a date for next week you're shooting for?
We
We
can talk
probably
about
should.
Monday morning,
their
3 a.m.
preference on that.
your house.
Hey, my yard will be done.
Thursday or Wednesday, we have a presentation that we're supposed to go to. Thursday is probably
What Thursday during the engineering meeting?
there's no engineering meeting on next Thursday.
The second?
It's a 5th week.
What about Thursday at 9? We've got a bi-state working group agenda review.
Yeah, so we could do it after that. So shoot for Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Online.
What's the date? 25th?
Second.
May the 2nd?
Yeah.
And Saturday is May the 4th.
At what time?
No, that's Saturday.
10 a.m.
Oh, no.
You don't have to be there.
Yes, you do.
We're just, he has alternates. It's gonna be a 10-minute meeting.
It's a 10-minute meeting, I'm fine. I've got a phone call that I postponed twice now. At noon.
It's just vote. It is actually just voting on the contract. So maybe a 10-minute.
Okay.
Friday is the 2 to 4 p.m. meeting.
The 3rd? No, the 29th.
The 29th.
26th.
6, you're correct.
26.
Already set those 2 meetings up, develop a one page or translation how-to on the website, for the Bridge Authority website. Check on the .gov site, getting it to translate to Spanish with button push. We talked about the partnering meeting, get that out to everyone, invites. And then, we need to get an advertisement out this week for the budget committee of 6 members.
Would you like any more work?
Nope. What else you got?
When we advertise, we'll need to make sure we have dates for the budget committee stuff as well, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, you have to have dates specified.
Calendar.
Yeah.
Debbie, do you have that calendar?
Mark, are you there?
Figure it out. I'll get
I
it to Debbie.
thought I saw Mark say something.
Is Mark is here.
Yeah.
I'm here, but I have nothing to add, and everything that Debbie said is correct.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
I would expect that we get the budget process done in one meeting.
Yeah,
This
I think one meeting is going to be sufficient for budget committee. And we
This
can
one's
actually
fair.
piggyback it with one of these meetings if you
That's what I was gonna say. Pick one of these, piggyback it.
Yeah, I would recommend just add it to the first, or whenever we do a finance committee meeting, we're gonna do it twice a month.
That's different than this meeting.
I know,
No,
wanna do it at the
so the finance committee can meet and come up with a draft budget.
Sure.
And then the budget committee can actually come together
right.
for a meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Got it. Never mind.
okay.
I'm just using.
Anybody else have anything else?
I'll make the week more busier, the partnering and the discouraged to meeting. Prior to that, on Tuesday, we have a debriefing meeting with the unsuccessful others.
Oh. On the 21st. Where did we
For
start?
RFP and fall regulation.
Yeah, they requested the debrief. Great.
Where are we gonna squeeze that in between the? That's the things. Okay, we'll figure it out. All right. We also have a travel meeting that day too.
Okay. If we keep going, we'll just add more work and I think everybody's got plenty. Is there anything else? Actually, I'm gonna add something to our agendas with the consent from now on, and that's a partner update. So if Federal Highways is online or any of our other partners would like to give updates moving forward, how does that sound for everybody? It just means you have to talk less.
Luck with that.
Okay. Are there any partners that are online that would like to give us an update on anything? I think we ran most of them off. Not seeing any at this time. Well, it's like public comment. All right. Do you have anything final?
Nope, we're good.
Round table from anyone. Is there anything that we haven't discussed? Seeing none. Okay. We'll have a raise grant scope overview sometime in the future. Our next meeting will be Monday, May 13th. Regular meeting will be Monday, May 13th, 2024 from 2 to 4. Let the record show there, we will be having a special meeting this Friday, April 26th from 2 to 4 p.m. here. And then we will have another special meeting May 2nd at 10 a.m. For the entire board. And finally, for the public's knowledge, multiple members will be present at a private event this evening. So is there any other meetings we have where we could have a quorum that we should just mention? All right. With that, with the consent of the governed, I would adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.